Welcome to The Christian Atheist, where faith and reason fuse in the incarnation. Episode number 118, Chatterview with Bill the Mad Scot Patterson, part 1 of our discussion. Having last week completed our JEDP series, we thought it might be of interest to chat with our friend Bill the Mad Scot Patterson from Bantry, Ireland, since he inspired the series. Like me, Bill thought to pursue ministry early in his life, but upon entering divinity school, was confronted with a theological education he could not even recognize as Christian, and, as he said, turned a young cover-to-cover Bible-believing man into someone scrabbling for answers, trying to get at the truth. Bill has become our favorite correspondent from across the pond. Welcome, Bill, to The Christian Atheist, and thanks for joining us.
The main thrust of what I was trying to say was that surely in the 200 years plus of this, especially the German attitude to the Bible, with the JEDP and the various criticisms of the Bible itself.
Right.
What's the criticism called again?
Oh, the higher criticism.
The higher criticism. I couldn't get it out. I've got the wrong teeth in.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
So back in the day, and just recently as we've talked about this, it occurred to me that there must be out there, surely the higher critics should have by now produced their own version of what they're saying the Bible is actually saying or not saying. But it seems like we have so many different versions of the Bible saying so many different things, trying to find the truth and trying to choose a Bible from amongst the many Bibles. And I was going on to say that when I came back to the Lord about 20 plus years ago, I came back and I destroyed an NIV. I used it so much for reading. I've no shame in saying that I still have the Bible, but it's in tatters. To me, that's a good sign. If you have a Bible that's pristine, it's never been used. You know, this Bible was. I have an issue with the Bible. You see these wonderful Bibles. I've actually bought one for my grandson recently, and the words of Jesus as a selling point are in red. But if you take the Bible as being the Word of God, then all the text should be in red.
Yeah.
That's only just occurred to me.
Yep.
Anyway.
I was just going to say, you talked about the damage was already done by like your third year in college. Yeah. And you dropped out and became an electrician.
I already was an electrician, and okay. I didn't leave college. They invited me to leave, which basically meant I was sacked. So
I see.
In third year, I spent most of my time in third year playing snooker and pool and such, and just
what's
by that stage I'd lost it altogether. I did try to enter a local Bible college, but they didn't entertain me, so.
We lost a good man then, but I guess God had his own plans. But that's actually not so different from my story. I mean,
yeah,
you told that there.
I listened to your story. I don't know what number they are, but they're your story, and you tell a story that's very similar to mine, where you were raised in a Christian setting and you drifted away very quickly. And that's what happened to me. For about 25 years, I drifted away altogether. I did have meanderings back into church, but they were only that. I never ever got an answer to the questions I wanted to ask. Mm-hmm. And I asked some very serious theologians and Christians, solid Christians, and I asked them, and they all came back to the same place where they just said, there's no argument against these guys, you know, because you simply just have to regurgitate what they say. Trying to argue with them is kind of pointless. First off the bat, I took the view that these were not Christians talking to me.
Yeah.
It was the main view I got from them. As I listened to their view of things, I got the impression that I was not amongst Christians. 60%, 70% of the students were not Christians.
Mm-hmm.
They were social Christians raised up in the Church of Scotland, which is very poor on evangelical theology. I went on holiday to a very remote island called Skye on the west coast of Scotland. And I said to my wife, who's an Irish, she would have been raised Methodist, but then she ended up in a Baptist church.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, let's go along to this Church of Scotland, because she didn't really understand what I was talking about. I said, let's go and listen to this chap preaching. Let's go to the morning service, and you'll hear this non-gospel, social gospel thing that is nothing whatsoever to do with God and Jesus.
Yeah.
And the guy turned out to be the most evangelical Christian I've ever heard preaching. But the thing was, he was out in the middle of nowhere, where he was, he was encouraged, shall we say, to not be where he should have been, right in the heart of things,
Right. Yeah, it's sad. I mean, C.S. Lewis talks about that in the article that I used for this series too, Modern Theology and Biblical Criticism. And he's, by the end of the essay, he's like lamenting, saying, look, if this doesn't turn around, the whole Anglican church is going to fall apart, because if the people are Christians and they come to your church and you're teaching this stuff, they're going to recognize that you're not Christian and they're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I guess the Church of Scotland is in the same boat, huh?
It's the same thing. I mean, one of the churches that I preached in, maybe it's a sign of my preaching method, became a furniture store. And that's true of many churches in Scotland, but also a large percentage of the Anglican churches have become, restaurants and such. It's just they're losing the congregations hand over fist, because they're trying to teach something that nobody wants to believe, because there's no substance to it. They don't preach Christ crucified at all.
No, exactly right.
They talk about, whatever, but they don't make a big thing of it at all, really.
Yep.
You've got within the Anglican Church. Now, if Jenny's present, I do apologise to her. It's not that I have a thing against females, but Paul says very clearly women should not speak in church. Now, the first, there was a big kind of set to about the first Anglican vicar, who was a female.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's taken for granted.
Yeah.
So call that what you like. But now we have gay vicars marrying gay people.
Yep.
I listened to a sermon this morning. I should send it to you. We were talking last week about the madness that is the woke situation.
Yep.
And this minister in America, he what's the expression? He pulled no punches whatsoever.
Yeah.
He told it like it is, which is incredibly brave in today's situation. But he said, this is the way of it. He went through all the bits and pieces of what woke is doing to America. What he was talking about was transism.
Oh my goodness, yes.
In America. And he said it's destroying everything that you can imagine. But at the same time, there are massive corporations who are adopting this.
Yep.
Encouraging it, taking a hit in the bank. They don't worry about losing money, because they think that eventually the folks will come back to them.
I mean, I try myself to never pull the punches, and then come what may, I'll stand on God's side. And I try to make that point at the end of each podcast with my outro, that I choose Christ's side. And if that means that I'm going to be pummeled, okay, bring the pummels on.
That's what this chap said. He made the point that if he said boo in the sermon, he'd get pummeled with emails from people saying, you frightened me when you said boo.
Yeah, exactly.
That's ridiculous,
I know what I was going to say. When I was a young Christian in Bible college, and I came across the passage in Isaiah, famous passage, where it says, woe unto those who take darkness for light, evil for good. I thought to myself, that's crazy. It could never be, that radical of a reversal. And yet that is exactly what we are living through right now. When you can turn reality upside down because you have some sort of desire in your mind to recreate it in your own image instead of facing reality, you've turned science around, you've turned the faith upside down, you've literally inverted reality. And that's where we are. I mean, I remember reading that verse and saying to myself, okay, that's a little hyperbolic. It could never be quite that bad. I mean, I said, I'd look around and let's see, I was in Bible college in the 80s, like the late 80s. And so I said to myself, it gets bad. I looked around, I thought, yeah, there's some bad stuff going on, but nobody's actually taking evil for good. We are now, literally. And I'm not scared by it, but I'm like, what's going to happen? Where does this lead us? I mean, the Roman Empire crashed. I guess we're on exactly the same path.
But I was thinking about, there was various mentions of something like that, the empires that have crashed through the centuries. America is at the moment seen as the world's police, if you follow me. I think it's losing its
moral authority.
Yeah, pretty much, because they're accepting all kinds of things, and as I say, corporate America is looking to create more of this. It suits them to do this for whatever reason. I don't know. I mean, they're losing money. What was the company? The Miller Lite, is it?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was Budweiser.
30 billion, but these companies are not worried because they think they'll make it back.
Yeah.
They'll recover. It's like they say when they talk about who has the microphone at the moment. Well, certainly for sure the woke people have the microphone.
Yep.
And nobody else is say, excuse me, that's rubbish.
Yeah. Why are we not standing up? Why? I mean, I know because they wield the power at this point.
Yeah, but we have it too easy. That's it.
Yeah, you're right.
You were saying about things changing and suddenly going awry and such, but is it stressing you out? Are you really suffering in any sense with it?
Nope. Not really.
Not really.
Mm-mm.
I mean, you go down to the shops and you can fill up your basket and go home and just live your life, but I read and was actually what I did was I was watching. I'm very much into Jewish things, and I discovered the Yad Vashem, which is the Holocaust Center, and through that I discovered the Holocaust survivor stories, and these are videos of folks, and they're for about 4 hours worth for each person.
Wow.
And they're asked odd questions, but they just keep talking. And the number of positive messages that come from them having suffered so badly. I mean, I'm talking about Auschwitz survivors,
Right.
These are people who have suffered the kind of turnaround of society. We're not there yet, nowhere near it,
No, but they're taking us there.
Yeah, they're trying to. I mean, that's the thing. But at some point, someone has to say, well, excuse me, no, that's rubbish.
Yeah. I think that they are literally homicidal. They are totalitarians who want to, ultimately, the hatred, the envy, the resentments that they have about their lives, which they think are so terrible, and actually they're like living the lives of kings.
But they've come from a place where, 10, 15, 20 years ago, being gay was against the law.
Right.
Now it's turned around to where being gay is the thing to be, and they're promoting it. And some of the things that I've been hearing are unbelievable. I've seen a couple of folks trying at town meetings, reading out these bits of paper of what 5, 6, 7-year-olds are hearing absolute pornography. And they're being shut down and told, you can't be reading that. And yet teachers are allowed to read it to the kids.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And you know what? I have family members who have castigated Jenny and I because they think of us as censoring books. Seriously? You want to call me a censor when, 10 years ago you were taking Huckleberry Finn out of the library because it's not fit for students. I'd much rather have them reading Huckleberry Finn than the crap they're dishing out today. It's unbelievable.
Well, 5, 6, 7-year-olds, to be honest, back in the day, as an 8 or 9 or 10-year-old, kids would find things around the back of the playground, and look at this, but but that wasn't a teacher showing you this stuff or telling you
exactly
some of the stuff that's coming out of these books. It's unbelievable. Are we the moral right?
Well, I don't think we are, but I think God is.
Yeah.
A lot of what they're doing is trying to tear down the very notion of right and wrong.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you a question. What age are you?
I am 50. I'm going to be 57 on October 6th.
Okay, so I'm 12 years older than you. Yeah. And I can remember back to when every day, without fail, we weren't forced to say prayers. We were saying prayers each day.
Yeah.
Primary school and then secondary school.
Yeah.
That's long gone.
Yeah.
And yet I felt in the midst of that, I felt such a peace in the midst of that, There were non-atheists in the teaching profession. They weren't forced to. They could choose not to pray, but they did pray. They did lead the students in prayer. We had assemblies where the headmaster would lead us all in prayer. So that's all gone.
It's gone. Yep. Yeah. I have a phrase. I mean, I'm working now on a book on Paradise Lost. And I'm writing the afterword right now. And I have a phrase in there that what we've done as a culture is we've centralized the margins. Like you talked about having out in the playground, right? We had those margins that were always around the normal structures, but we've now made them the center, and we've marginalized the center. So we've taken all of the things that have built the Western world, brought it to the height of prosperity, and we've banished them. And we've brought in those destructive elements that are going to tear it all down. Jenny likes to say we're going into a new medieval period, a dark ages, and who knows?
Yeah, but the thing was something else I was listening to somewhere. I've been listening to a lot of the links that Jenny has given me, and I've been going. I've actually, because of all these chats that we've had, and thinking about the things, I've been going searching out things, and one of the things that came out to me, actually, the chap today who was speaking said, no, I don't know the actual figures, but let's say it was 6 to 8-year-olds would spend 5 hours a day in front of a machine.
Yeah.
But not a TV, it'd be, some kind of war game or something like that. 8 to 12-year-olds would be up around 8 hours a day doing the same thing. You've probably seen these things, the shoot 'em up thing, but it's not like you and I used to do with a little cowboy.
No, right.
No, this is rifles firing at a person,
right?
And they disappear in a cloud of blood. Now this is the PlayStations, etc. My goodness, I mean, how are you supposed to stop that? And what effect? Do you remember back to when you went to cinema? I mean, I'm showing my age here. I would go to cinema and see the cowboys, and I'd come out, and if my friends and I would be running up the street, shooting at each other and riding our horses and doing
exactly
what? Yeah,
yep.
Copying it. So why would these kids copy this as well?
Right.
And what's it going to lead to? More Columbines, maybe. More of that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure. Wow. The world we've created now is so radically different from what anyone in previous history ever lived in. And we have no idea what the results of that's going to be.
What's the solution? How do you turn that about?
Only one. It's Christ.
Yeah.
There really literally is no other way. If we don't turn back, we are going down.
Yeah.
Because there's only one way to live in the world. It's the way that God made us. And if you're going to ignore all of the evidence that, points out these natural structures of how living works, and you're going to decide to do whatever you please, you don't get to make up the laws of gravity, nor do you get to make up the laws of how men and women differ from one another and how they should relate to one another. So they're all set rules.
My 4 children are living in a society where there are no rules, really.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep.
They can live with someone, they can not bother living with someone, and just pretty much make their own minds up about what they want to do. I certainly was a child of the 60s,
Yeah.
So the rules went out kind of then. They were starting to go out. But my question to finish up maybe would be to say, are we heading in such a way that we could get as far as pre-1939 kind of set up? Because people are swallowing what they're taking in as the truth, shall we say, is unbelievable.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, Hitler and his cohorts, they knew what they were doing. Is it that far away up in your place? Is it that far away where I am? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I see things like that on the horizon. I really do.
Yeah. Well, I see kids here. I used to drive tour buses, and I used to do kind of buses for discos, and they would empty out at 2:00 in the morning. And these boys and girls, the boys, I never understood the boys, because the girls were not dressed at all,
Yeah.
I mean, there was nothing left to the imagination, shall we say.
Yeah.
And that's just the way of it now, and drink is, it's 10 a penny now. That's the way of living.
Yeah. Maybe that will be what helps turn it around, because, Jenny and I were talking about this just the other day, and she said, what's left to excite, to bring joy and happiness to this generation of kids? There is nothing that they haven't seen. There's nothing that they haven't done. It's like you can't shock them. You can't excite them with something new. Maybe that will bring them to the point of recognizing, wow, going back to boundaries and the real structures of reality. Maybe that will be, maybe they'll find happiness there, start moving back. I don't know.
No, well, see, with these games that they're playing on the TVs or whatever, that's the mind games that these kids are playing. The boys especially are buried in them. They just go from one to another. And of course, they're now interactive. So there can be hundreds and hundreds of people taking on a town, say, group of folks. It's beyond belief. So, having said that, I like the golf game. I play the golf game sometimes. I used to play the golf against my sons, but once they got better at it, I gave up. So,
yeah, they have the advantage for sure in the skill sets for some reason.
Yeah. They can move their thumbs faster than I can. That's it.
That's true. Yeah, our joints aren't quite what they used to be, for sure.
No, that's not.
I am a Christian, with the searching and skeptical mind of an atheist. I don't want to believe anything that isn't true. I know both sides of the looking glass, and I know them with open eyes. I choose Christ's side. I invite you to join me from wherever you stand before the looking glass. That's this week's episode. Thanks for listening, and remember, You can have your religious cake and eat it too. You can have reason, respect for science, a 21st century worldview, and be a Christian.